Hello everyone. Today in this video we are going to deal with the UJT, the complete structure, its equivalent diagram, the circuit, what we say about the UJT, the working, the principle, and what are the different regions and how UJT will get triggered in different application of the UJT. At the last, we're going to discuss about the comparison between the RC triggering and UJT triggering. At first, what do you mean by UJT? UJT is nothing but a unijunction transistor, which is another a solid state three-terminal device which can be used in gate pulse, timing circuit, trigger generator application to switch and control either thyristor and triacs for AC power control type of application. So we can use it in any of those applications where we require the initiation of a gate pulse or particular timing or any triggering applications. So where we need a triggering pulse to be generated, there also we can use it, or also we can use it as a controlling operations to the thyristor or a triac in a AC power control type of application. Here diodes like diodes are usually, we know that we are made up of a P and N type. Here also UJT also is a constructed from the same thing, but the placing or the construction of that is a different type. Okay, but how they are constructed, that will be a difference here. You like diodes, we just take a P and N, we combine together and we make it a one junction here. But it is not like that way in UJT. You can see here the N-type semiconductor has been a major role here. With a small P-type has been inserted in the N-type. So this forms a PN junction, and this layer which is connected here, we call this one as the emitter. The alternate, the two terminals on the N side, we call this one as the base. So we construct or we name them as the B1 and B2 here. So when in diodes it was to be here, but in the UJT it is inserted in the N type of a semiconductor here. Okay, that's the difference what we call a diode and a UJT. Hence this form as the unijunction transistor. Okay, unijunction transistor. Now, how they are symbolically represented? It's like the same thing. It's like the base. This is the B2, and this is the base one. And the emitter is like this way. It's flowing from P to N type. So therefore, it's flowing from base to B1. And since it is a transistor, the circle has to be represented here. So this is the UJT symbol, and this is how UJT has been constructed. Looking at this circuit, we can write a simplified equivalent circuit here. You can see here a diode has been placed to this junction, and here B2 and here B1, and this is E. So between emitter and the junction of a base, that is the B1 and B2, we are connected with the RB1 and a RB2. Here RB1 acts as a variable resistance that will be given here, and this is we call as the RB2. So this we call the junction as the VBB. The power supply given to the base B1 and B2, we call this one as the VBB. Then this one. Okay, so we can see here the actually equivalent circuit with a respective power supply. So here we can see VEE has been given via RE, that we call it the limiting resistor. So how much it is required to the E has been passed on to this diode, and it is supplied here. And at the other side, where to the base, we have been supplied with the VBB voltage. So this is the positive voltage and this is the negative. So this is a forward bias here. And this terminal we call across this VE, called as also VE. That is the emitter voltage, and this one is the junction which has to be analyzed here. So looking at this circuit, we can say that when IE is equals to 0, that is when here IE is equals to 0, so that time VE is equals to VE. So nothing has been passed out of this circuit. When VE is equals to VV, that is the value voltage we say, when we go into the construction of this thing, we can analyze this thing, or we can have three different regions that we need to think, and we'll let you know. So that is the minimum voltage what is required by the UJT to trigger on. So that when this VE is greater than or equal to VV, you can say it is equal, but we should say VVE is equal to VV. So that time IE will, of course, it will more than 0. So that it is what is saying that it is has been diode has been on, made on. Okay, and this everything has been limited by the RE. When it is given here, so that time the voltages has been passed and the current has been passed through here. In that time we say the condition when VE is equals to VV, so that time UJT has made on. We'll go into the deep analysis for this circuit later. Okay, but we can initiate here. Looking at the circuit, we can say here, what is that? Vx, this one is equals to, what is this Vx? When a current is been passed through here, through the RB1, it's called as the Vx. So no, we call this as a voltage divider rule. Vx is equals to Vx, that's Vx with respect to the ground, is nothing but the current passing through it, I into RB1. So this is the RB1. What is this RB1? RB1 is the resistance across which we are going to find. So now with respect to the I, so what is the I here? The VBB has been given, so I am considering only this one. I am going to analyze only this one. So what is the current flowing through here at this point is what? VBB divided by, if I consider this one as a path here, VBB divided by RB1 plus RB2. RB1 plus RB2 is again nothing but the Vx is what with respect to the VBB. So we can call this one as a Vx is equals to RB1 divided by RB1 plus RB2 with respect to the into the voltage given by the VBB. So that is the thing, and we say it as RB1 plus RB2 divided by RB1 divided by RB1 plus RB2 is nothing but a neta. So that is the here what we are telling. So here we can say that Vx at the point junction, Vx is equals to I into RB1 is equals to VBB divided by RB1 plus RB2. I have considered only the base circuit because I required with respect to the RB1 there. Okay, and also that's the voltage what you need to be considered. So it is telling that Vx is equals to neta into VBB. So what is neta? It's nothing but RBB is equals to RB1 plus RB2. So we can consider that RB1 plus RB2 as the RBB. So or I can say it as a RB1 divided by RBB. So we call this neta as the internal UJT voltage divider ratio, or we call it the intrinsic standoff ratio. Usually we divide the UJT into the three categories, okay, or the three regions we say. It operates in three things. One is the cutoff region, another is the negative resistance region, another is the saturation region. We'll look at the graph and we can analyze here. This is the cutoff region. Till here it is the cutoff region. Till here it is the negative resistor region, and this is the saturation. I told about VV, right? This is the VV what is required the UJT to be triggered. Now first we'll go with the cutoff region. when VE is less than VP. So this is the VP, the peak voltage. The minimum peak voltage is the VP. When it is VP is greater than VE, or we can say it as a VE less than VP, the PN junction is in the reverse bias. A small amount of reverse saturation current IEO flows through this device. You can see reverse, this is the IEO, until here the reverse current will be flowing here. After here the initiation of the VP has been reached, that is the VP is equals to VE, it comes into the negative resistor region. When emitter voltage VE equals to VP, that time it has been initiated to the forward bias, or we call it as a negative resistance. The reason for that will go into it. And IE starts to flow here. You can see here, this is a graph with respect to the IE and VE. The voltage across the device in this region is decreases as the voltage is increased, and the current also increases here. So resistance is not matter here, the only the voltage has been decreased and the current has been increased. So hence we call this one as the negative resistive region. So here what is happening, current is flowing too much and the voltage is been decreased. So looking at this thing, we can see it here, V is equals to IR. V is equals to IR. So what has happened, voltage has been decreased and current has been decreased. Here voltage has been decreased and current has been increased. So of course what is happening here, the resistance is decreasing. So that is nothing but again RB1, because we are considering only the one resistance, right? That is the RB1. So this is the concept what we need to understand. So that what is happening, resistance is decrease. So we call this one as the negative resistive region. Further, if the I beyond the valley point, that is IV drives, that is we call IE is equals to IV and VE is equals to VV. At this condition we call this one a saturation region, and when I falls below valley point, it's IV, so I was here, so when it follows below valley point, the UJT goes into the off state. This is we call as saturation region. So it is has been initiated till here, and from here again has been, it goes into the off state. So this is the condition for a UJT to trigger on. It works in this thing, and up till IV it will initiate. So anything has to be work, it has to be gone without, below this one, beyond this region is not been taken care. So anything it is be working here, if anything current above IV is not been considered. So it has to be working in this region itself. So this we call it as the negative resistive region. So what are the three regions? Cutoff region, negative resistive region, and the saturation region. Now we'll look into the how UJT is working as the filing circuit, or we can say the functionality of the UJT. You can look at here the same circuit what we use. We are using the same thing. That's a V1 connected to the ohm resistance, another here is connected to resistance to a switch, and this is the capacitor is used here and a R. The reason for R and C, like a timing, what we can make the pulse width more and less with respect to this capacitor and with respect to this R. When switch 1 is closed, the unijunction transistor is off. The capacitor C begins to charge up exponentially through resistor R. So it becomes charging to the resistance R, and as the emitter of the unit is connected to the capacitor, a small charging voltage VEC across the capacitor becomes greater than the diode. voltage drop. So VDVC. The PN junction behaves as a normal diode here and becomes forward bias triggering into the UJT into the conduction. So you can see here, this is the exactly UJT and we are making it work for the transistor here. So here one's function is the relaxation oscillator to generate a pulse with respect to the R and C value as the oscillator with respect to some voltage provided to it, and another function is to make a SCR on by providing a pulse to it. Here we can see this is the what it is as a relaxation oscillator. It's creating some frequency of a signal which is required by the gate to trigger. It comes under the pulse triggering category. Then see here, as I said, as the value of the resistor is very low, the capacitor discharges rapidly to the UJT and fast rising voltage appear across the R. Also, because the capacitor discharges more quickly through the UJT than charging up through resistor, the discharging time is lot less. Then charging time as the capacitor discharges through the low resistor UJT. So what is happening here? The time required to charge is more, but discharging time is very less. You can see here, up till T1 is the charging time, up till T2, from T1 to T2 is the discharging time. So what is the EDC has been given here? It takes on certain up to charge up to the VP value. Because as it's charged to VP and it is UJT is triggered on, and that time up to till here. This is the functionality here, where it can work here. You can see it till here. Only till here it is going to work. The red line what you are seeing is the only the working region till here. After that it will not, it reaches into the saturation region. This is what the cutoff region, and this is what the negative resistor region where it will start to work VP, and this is VV, and here from VV to till here it is the saturation region. So this is the working region. We can make this working region more with respect to the resistance value. If we make again more lesser resistance value, we can make it line till here. The lesser the resistor value, more we get the triggering region. For example, if we have a high resistance region, that time this T2 will become very low, like this. So this is the functionality of the R and C. So as per our requirement, we can change the thing. You can see here the frequency of operation directly affecting here. You can see this is the charging and this is the discharging. So what is happening till here? The peak has been initiated and the discharging pulse is like this way. This is the output pulse what will be provided to the SCR to make it on. This has been generated as a relaxation oscillator functioning, and this will be given to the SCR to make on. This is a second functioning here. So T1 and T2 here. So this can be varied how? With the help of a R and C. If a capacitor the value is more, you can make it R very less and you can make this T2, or we can say the pulse width we can increase it to maximum. But usually we pulse triggering is what we require only for that interval of time to make it on, function, make it off, on and make it off, like that it is. Usually we don't go for more pulse width. If that is required, we can go for R or also triggering. But we require only for the specific duration of time. With the value R and C, we can calculate it. You can see here. This is the pulse generated across the B1 are applied to the gate SCR for triggering with the period T. So this is the T. What is the time period? That is how we calculate RC into log E into the base multiplied with respect to the EDC divided by EDC minus VP. So up till VP it has been charged. In most of the cases, Vp is equal to neta into EDC plus V naught. The period can be written as RC into log E into EDC divided by EDC into 1 minus neta minus VD. That's voltage drop here. If a small voltage drop is there, you can ignore if EDC is more than 10 volts. So when you compare with 10 to the 0.6, it doesn't matter much. So we can go for the approximate expression. So we need not say the exact, we can say the approximation time duration, what we can get when we go for ignore VD. That we can consider it as a TC. T is equal to RC divided by log E into 1 minus 1 neta. So what it is saying, it is doesn't dependent on the EDC, whatever you get. Only the dependent factor is the RC and the resistance value here RB1. If the UJT is off during the time T, with the voltage drop across the R1 is given by VB1 off into is equals to R1 divided by R1 plus RBB plus R2 into EDC. So what are the extra dead? Then VB1 voltage should be smaller than the voltage needs to be triggered SCR. Otherwise the SCR will be triggered prematurely. So VB1 or should be like less than Ig into 1 kilo ohm plus Vg. That's the gate triggering value. So it has to be controlled properly, else it becomes the premature triggering. So we cannot get the exact what we required, what are the design we need. So we have to consider more on the R minimum and R maximum. So that can be given by with respect to this time limits. Is the R minimum is equal to VDC minus VV. So up till VV it has to be functional, right? VDC minus VV divided by IV. The maximum resistance is what? EDC minus VP divided by IP. So this is at the peak and this is at the bottom. If R is greater than the R max, the capacitor voltage will never reach the VP and UJT stays in the off state. So for that purpose, R has to be very specific. If R is smaller than R minimum, the voltage capacitor voltage will reach VP and discharge to the UJT, but UJT will not turn off as current never goes below IV. So that's also we have to see. So it has to, whatever the value has to be there, it has to be lie between the R max and R minimum. Depending on the VV and VP we require, we can design those things and we can design a specific time interval where a gate pulse has to be designed or the oscillator function, and that has to be given to the SCR. So we can make a SCR on for a specific during of time. The value of R2 must be very small compared to the RB, and it is given by, that is the approximate R2 is equals to 10 to the power of 4 divided by neta into VBB. This is all about the UJT curve. Now at the last we will compare all the R, RC and UJT triggering. So we have categorized into different category the parameters here. So range of the firing angle for R is 0 to 90, RC 0 to 180, UJT 0 to 180 again. It's a type of a triggering. It's a AC triggering. RC is a AC triggering, but UJT comes under pulse triggering. For that only I told. We required only that specific duration of time, so it has to be very short and sweet. Isolation of the control power circuit and the power circuit not included. Isolation is provided by the pulse transformer. As we discussed in the gate triggering, the basic, it has to be isolation has to be done, or else it has to merge with the pulse transformer. Whatever the voltage has been given, it is trying to mix it up. The firing of the multiple SCR not possible. Here possible due to the isolation of the control circuit. You can firing of the multiple SCR. You can make it on one more than one. Here R and RC can trigger only one SCR at a time. Here we can given it to the many, so it can trigger at many times, and we can connect any number of SCR depending on the design what we are giving. Rating of the components very high, very low component. Effect of supply fluctuation. Firing angle not stable. Yeah, depending on the circuit, some anything it can. Here also it is not stable, but here it is stable as we are specific about it. Then is this cost. R and RC triggering R is very economical, RC is reasonable when compared to R and UJT, but UJTs are very costlier. Hence, when we require the economic way, we go for R. When we want the stable output, we go for a costlier. We don't want anything, we want in a medium range, then we go for this RC. Thank you. And here we are finished with this topic, and it's referred from the MD Singh and KB Kanchandani, and the other two, the Rashid and Umanand, are the additional reference thing. Thank you again.